not only my Guruji, but Mahaguruji, I would say, Professor Murli Manohar Joshi. I learned so much from him. I was so inspired when we worked together, when he was the Minister of Science and Technology, and I had the fortune of being Director General of CSIR. Uh, Let me say a few things because we did number of projects at that point in time because his emphasis was science must serve the society. And therefore, there was a big orientation towards what difference we can make to not just India, to Bharat, so as to say. He used to differentiate. I still remember that. I think the first thing I remember about what he did was remind us of our glorious past, those 1920s and 1930s, when we did work which was amazing. It was Sir C.V. Raman, of course, who got the Nobel Prize, but others which had Nobel Prize worthy work. If you remember, whether it was J.C. Bose, it was S.N. Bose, who showed us the direction in stellar astrophysics, uh, P.C. Ray, and so on, so forth. So I think the first thing he brought was that particular pride of Bharat in the 1920s and 1930s. And all our 40 laboratories, I remember we had their photographs prominently displayed to tell the young people about our glorious past, because that is the inspiration. The second wonderful thing I remember about him is that 11 May 1998, we had the directors conference, all 40 directors of CSIR. And I remember at that time that we had a launch at his hand of the small aircraft, Hansa, in the morning, because that was our first few steps in creating indigenous technology for aircrafts. In the afternoon, there was this news that came up that DRDO had launched the missile. And in the evening, we got the news about Pokhran 2. So there were three great technological events on one day. And it was his idea, as a matter of fact, because I remember after that news broke, we broke the meeting because we were so excited, everybody jumped. And it was he who suggested that actually we should call this as a technology day. Just as 28th February, we call as a science day because of Sir C.V. Raman's Nobel Prize breakthrough came at that time. So similarly, he said, and I remember the spontaneity with which this happened. We were in National Physical Laboratory. We were sitting together. Honorable Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee was in the middle. I was on this side. Professor Joshi was on this side. And he suggested to him that this should be called. And the Prime Minister reacted instantly, basically. And in his speech, he declared 11 May 1998, 11 May as Technology Day. This was in 98. So for the last 28 years, we are celebrating Technology Day on 11 May, and we'll continue to celebrate for centuries to come. That credit goes to Professor Joshi. And the third point I would like to say is that if I plot the year versus science and technology funding, it has a hockey stick approach. It was actually going down, and it was his push, as a matter of fact, that the science and technology budget actually sort of went up because that was very important. You can't basically have sort of resource is very important. The power of ideas is, of course, very important. But input of that particular kind was extremely sort of important. And there are so many other things that he did. It made us think big. He taught us the power of ideas, how it sort of matters, and reminding always of our rich heritage, the great foundation, and making us proud as not just Indians, but as Bhartiyas, so as to say. I'm going to pick up only one point and I'm going to elaborate on that because there are so many new directions he has given. And one of them, I remember he was the earliest one to talk about sustainable consumption because everybody talks about sustainable development, but sustainable consumption was very, very critical. And he articulated that sustainable consumption will not be attained by just moral appeals, but it will be achieved by scientific breakthroughs and technological transformation because science makes sustainability effortless and technology makes it scalable. And connecting these two powerful ideas, I've been so much influenced that by his thinking at that point, because he used to say that Indian science must not move linearly, it must move non-linearly, exponentially, and so on and so forth. I carried that inspiration. And this particular book, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, that I co-authored with Ravi Pandit, as a matter of fact, is on leapfrogging to pole vaulting, creating radical yet sustainable transformation. And I must say it was Professor Joshi's inspiration which made me think about that. In the same way, Experiment. This has also become a national bestseller. This is exponential improvement, not linear. Okay, by connecting the parallels, connecting the seemingly unconnected. It was his inspiration. And lastly, when we talk about sustainable consumption, more from less for more. This book was published in September 2025, and I'm very happy to say by March, this has become a national bestseller. So these three books, which have become national bestsellers, I would say the inspiration has been drawn from Professor Joshi. Now, let us look back at the philosophy of more from less for more. Actually, one goes back to Mahatma Gandhi. He had said that nature has given us enough for to fulfill everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. So there is a subtle message there that use the resources carefully, use them less and less to create more and more out of them, so that you will leave it for more and more people, the more and more generations, the second, the third, fourth generation, and so on. That is more from less for more. So creating more value from fewer resources for more people. On the other hand, when we talk about sustainable consumption, we are saying using resources responsibly and mindfully. So at first glance, one appears to be about production and the other about consumption. But in reality, these are two sides of the same coin, because more from less for more optimizes how we produce, and sustainable consumption optimizes how we use. How we produce and how we use, both are important. So together they create maximum value with minimum resource intensity across the entire life cycle. So what is the role of science and technology? Let me highlight five transformative roles, each already visible, each scalable, and each of these we have learned from Professor Joshi. I think the first is making sustainability invisible. The most powerful sustainability is one you don't notice. Think of LED revolution. People did not reduce their lighting needs, but energy consumption dropped dramatically. Why? Because science improved the efficiency. And when technology reduces resource intensity, sustainable becomes automatic. Second, making the invisible visible. Science gives us measurement, technology gives us visibility. Smart meters, carbon trackers, health dashboards. Suddenly, the invisible becomes visible. And when people see their consumption, they begin to change it. So, measurement is the first step for mindful consumption. That was the second. The third is nudging behavior intelligently. We no longer need to force behavioral change, we can design it. AI systems can suggest efficient routes, optimal energy use, sustainable product choices, and technology can make the sustainable choice the easiest choice. Then the fourth is dematerializing consumption. This is perhaps the most profound shift, because we are beginning to consume value without consuming matter. For example, digital payments instead of paper, streaming instead of physical media, virtual meetings instead of travel. So the most sustainable product is often the one that is never physically sort of produced. And the fifth that I learned from him is turning waste into wealth, because science enables circularity. Wastewater becomes irrigation input, plastic becomes fuel or recycled material, biomaterials replace harmful substances. So science transforms waste into resource. So there are three integrated examples I like to take. One is healthcare, because there are new diagnostic technologies that deliver more health outcomes at lower cost. For example, I have created this Anjani Mashelkar Foundation in 2011. This is the 15th year, and we give awards to those who are ahead of the curve, who don't go for best practice, they go for next practice, and create sort of breakthroughs, making high technology work for the poor. And despite sort of income inequalities, you can create access equalities. Let me Just give an example like ECG. ECG, you go lie down, then a nurse comes, put 12 lead on you, takes half an hour. There's a cardiogram which is printed out, and doctors, experts read it, and so on and so forth. Expensive, time-consuming process. This is a portable ECG, which got the award, Anjani Mashelkar Foundation Award. What do? You have two sensors. You put your thumbs on it. You have this sensor at the corner. This is your heart. You put 1, 2, 3, 15 seconds each. 1, 2, 3, 15 seconds each, and you get a medical grade cardiogram. For what? Cost is nothing. And a lady or a man in a village can do it. And if you have downloaded an app called Sanket, the best doctor anywhere, accessibility becomes sort of possible no matter where you are. You don't have to go to the hospital. So, like that, breast cancer, for example, mammography, painful, radiation, expensive, not available in villages. We have something which is something that can be moved around sort of the breast, and you know where it is or not. It's in 20 countries now, made in India for the world, which is something Professor Joshi always taught us ahead of the rest of the world. Same thing for oral cancer and so on and so forth. And now we have created something which is called FX Healthcare sort of bag, which I'll show you here. FX is affordable excellence. Okay. And here, remember the numbers 20, 10, 100. 20 parameters, medical parameters, whether it is blood pressure, whether it is sugar, whether it is hemoglobin, 20 parameters in 10 minutes for just 100 rupees, just $1. You can just imagine this is more from less for more. And you can see in terms of sustainable consumption as well as more from less for more, both on both sides, what difference it makes. I must say that I have been inspired by Professor Joshi on thinking like this. So new diagnostic technologies deliver more health outcomes at lower cost. This is what I've sort of exemplified. At the same time, digital health systems enable preventive care instead of reactive care. So less disease, less treatment, less resource use. And look at mobility, for example. Electric vehicles improve energy efficiency. I remember when Professor Joshi was the Minister of Science and Technology, you will remember our launching Reva car. You know, we were ahead of time in terms of electric vehicles. Unfortunately, we did not move forward on that. But they improve energy efficiency. Digital platforms reduce unnecessary travel, less energy per kilometer, fewer kilometers per person. Look at agriculture. Precision farming gives more crop per drop. Supply chain technology reduce food waste, more production, less wastage. So the strategic shift is that we have to consume intelligently, which is scalable, which is inclusive, and which is empowering. These are the lessons I carry from his sustainable consumption match. And therefore, let us have a new paradigm. Allow me to propose that we should be thinking in terms of responsible abundance, where science and technology creates abundance and sustainable consumptions ensure that it is responsible. So there are policy implications of this. Science and technology will create abundance, as I said, and sustainable consumption will ensure responsible. So we must, this has deep implications for policy, by the way. We must stop treating production policy and consumption policy as separate silos. Instead, we must create integrated resource efficient systems where innovation incentives, digital infrastructure, behavioral nudges, they work together. So India has a great opportunity because we have resource constraints, we have scale challenges, but we also have innovation capability, especially inclusive innovation capability. And this is where India can lead the world by demonstrating how to deliver prosperity without proportional resource consumption, a lesson that Professor Joshi has taught us. So let me summarize this in a simple line. Produce wisely, consume mindfully, deliver prosperity and sustainability for all. So, friends, the future will not belong to those who produce more, nor to those who consume less. It will belong to those who produce intelligently and consume responsibly. That is where innovation meets inclusion, technology meets humanity, and sustainability meets equity. And that is the true meaning of progress in 21st century. And that is what Professor Joshi has taught us, taught me. So my pranam once again, sir, to you. I wish the foundation a great success, which will take Bharat into the next orbit of our dreams. Thank you. Thank you very much.